Raising children anywhere in the world is not an easy task. But in a new country, there's the additional challenge of having to do this almost on your own as parents. I'm talking about the mother and the father. So in today's video, I'm going to share some stories with you about my experience raising children abroad, what I have learned, and the mistakes to avoid. Hello everyone, my name is Kola. I have lived in Canada for over 25 years. Welcome back to this side of life. And if you're new here, welcome to the Wise Tribe, and thank you all for joining me today. As you may know, I do have children, and I have been a parent for the past 25 years that I've been in Canada. And I had my first child just a few weeks after we landed. You can do the math that my child is over 25 years old. And yeah, coming into a new country, especially in our own case, it was our first child, and we have had very interesting experiences, from new parents to parents with little children to teenage parents, and now to being parents to adult children, right? One thing that people will tell you if you are coming to the West, especially if you are coming from Africa, where the village raises a child, the child is the child of the community, and you have your parents, you have your extended family to watch your children, to take care of your children. You can even have house helps, you can have nannies, you have a lot of help. Yeah, the first thing that you will notice if you have children and you come to a place like Canada is that, yeah, you are on your own. You are on your own with these children, and you need to do your best and watch over them as much as you possibly can. I mean, in my last video, I talked about how people say they relocated because of their children, and then they get to their destination abroad and they end up not having any time for these children. So as a good parent, you want to have time for your children. How do you do it in a place like Canada? Well, I'll tell you my story. So I was home with my child for like the first 6 months. So there was no issue of childcare at that time. My husband was doing a transition job just to get us settled and all that. So after like 6 months or so, I started looking for work, and I did find work, and it was a good thing that my husband was able to do shift work at that time. And what we did for many years was I will go to work in the morning and my husband will go to work in the evening. And so in between, when he is going to work, he would drop the children off. That's before they started school, right? He will drop them off at the daycare, and then when I come back from work, I will pick them up. So that was what we did for many years while the children were very young, until they were school age. And of course, when they started going to school, then they were in school full time. And then even if we needed care after school, they would go to the daycare after school. And that was how we did it for those years. I mean, it wasn't easy, and everybody will tell you that childcare is very expensive. It has always been expensive because here in this country, people are paid by the hour, and so the number of hours your child spends in the daycare is how much you would pay, right? There were so many stories back then. I remember one of our friends, they actually would exchange their son on the train because the wife was going to work and the husband was coming back, and so the only window that they had for one of them to hand over the child to the other was that time on the train. So they would meet at the train and swap the child and then go their ways. But at least you know that that is only for a period of time, right? And as the children grow older, they get to be able to stay on their own, and as they become teenagers and become adults, then that problem goes away. So now, if you're back in the home country, you would also have to find childcare, unless you are a stay-at-home mom, either here or there. If you're a stay-at-home mom, then this is not even a question. But if you are working, if you're a working mom and a working dad, then you have to find a way to take care of your children while you are at work. And so back home, people will get house helps, they will get nannies and people like that. What I would just say is that there are pros and there are cons for raising children either at home or abroad. I mean, at home, we know that you have the family, you have the community, and in my last video, I did talk about how even though that is a good thing, there are some cons to that as well, because that is when children get abused, sexually, physically, and all that. And while here, the children do not really have that extended family, the community, and all that, even though I would say that here in Canada, the Nigerian community, for example, is growing so much that our children have friends. We have people that you can actually drop your children off with, and they can look after your children. And there's a bigger community of Nigerians which is growing, and so you can take advantage of that as well. And of course, another thing about raising children here is that you have to find something for the children to do. Like many children will be in different activities, sporting activities, music or dancing or other activities like that. So as a parent, you must find time for that as well for your children. And I remember there was a time in my life in this country when I was in school. I decided to go for a master's degree, and I was working full-time. This master's degree was in the evening, and I was working full-time, and I had to be a wife at home, I had to be a mom, and I had to beg my son because he wanted to play soccer. And I was like, please, I cannot do this. I cannot do this. Just, for now, for this time that I'm in school, can you take a break from soccer? And then after my school, you can start going to soccer again. And that was a deal that I had with my son. And after I finished my school, then he could go and do his sports. And I was all in, and I was available to take him and bring him and do everything that's needed. So sometimes that's what is required. You need to negotiate with your children. You need to talk about things and come to an agreement. So having said all that, what are some lessons that I've learned and some mistakes to avoid when raising children abroad? The first thing that I would like to point out is that you need to know your children. I remember growing up, our parents were to be feared, right? We didn't really talk to our parents. We didn't really relate with our parents. It was more like a reverential relationship. But when you relocate abroad, you must learn to get closer to your children. Get to know them as individuals, as people. Get to know what they like, what they do not like, what their interests are, and things like that. Be their friend. We all know that it is the age of the internet. The children, they are exposed to so many things outside the home, and you want to make sure that, especially when they are younger, that they are getting their information, they are getting their worldview from home and not from the school. We know that in the West, there are so many things that children are being taught in school, and if that child does not have a good foundation from the home, then that would be a problem. So we need to give them a good foundation from home, which is why we must make sure that we have time for them. We spend time with them. Even though we have to work, we have to make that sacrifice of time for our children and prioritize. Like, what is the priority for you? Is it money? Is it that new house, the new car? Or is it your children, especially when they are younger? The Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go. When he is old, he will not depart from it. That is a basic principle that we need to follow when we raise children abroad. We need to make sure that they are getting their information, they are getting their foundation, they are getting their worldview from the home and not from school or from the government. Because believe me, there are many people out there in Canada, for example, who want to teach your children their own worldview, who want to teach your children their beliefs and their ways that may not be your own way, especially if you are a Christian. So I don't want this video to be too long, but I hope I have been able to share a few things that might be helpful for somebody out there about raising children abroad. If you have any thoughts about this, if there's anything that we can learn from you, from your own experience or from the experience of other people that you know or that you've heard about, please share with us in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know whenever I upload new videos. Also, stay tuned to this channel for much more interesting content coming your way. Until I come your way again, until the next video, you go out and make it the best days of your life. Bye!